What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? This is Double D's Let's Talk Ball podcast. We are tapping in with you with all the pro football talk today. We will be touching on last night's game, tonight's game, and this weekend's games that all lined up for our first official week one of the pro game. But first, let's introduce ourselves. I am Damian Deshawn, and this is our other host here, D of D's Corner. What's up with your brother?
Ain't nothing much, man. A hell of a game last night.
Yeah,
Hell of
man,
a
it was.
game.
Yeah, there was a hell of a game, and it was pretty much somewhat what we expected, and some things that caught off guard with some certain things. I'll tap into it. We were talking offline, and I'll speak to something you spoke to on the previous show was the offensive line and the three new factors, pieces on that offensive line for Baltimore, and I think that kind of played a part into the outcome on the production of their offense. And in all of
Yeah.
that, they still was a 7 point game. As we said, it was going to range between 3 to 7 points. So, man, it was really intriguing. But you go ahead and hit us with some of the insight and what you got from last night, man.
Well, early on, especially I think after the first half, if I'm not mistaken, Lamar's average yard per attempt and pass was under 1 yard. So
Mm-hmm.
that told me that they were trying to get the ball out of his hand quick because they didn't trust that offensive line and them
Mm-hmm.
holding up for deep shots.
Yep.
Now, as the game went on and going in that second half, they were holding up. They were coming into their own.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I wanted to see outside of that, and I kept saying, was to give Derrick Henry at least 20 touches. He only
Yeah.
carried the ball 13. What do you have? 13 carries for 40 something yards, 47 yards, or
Yes.
something like that.
46 yards.
Lamar
Yes.
Lamar had 16 for 122.
Mm-hmm.
We thought Lamar had got slimmed down more for the RPO. They were doing a lot of running with him, and he was trying to run through people.
Yeah.
Like his play early on seemed like he was trying to um, galvanize the rest of the team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We thought there would be lapses in coverage with Baltimore because they're bringing in a new young defensive coordinator, which that happened. That's how
Yes.
Xavier Worthy was able to get open
Yeah.
for his second touchdown.
Yeah.
That defensive coordinator, he called a hell of a game the first half. The main thing I wanted to see, and I think I texted you during it, was we'll see how these adjustments go at halftime. Because
Mm-hmm.
they came out, the Chiefs came out at halftime and they were firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
They were firing on all cylinders. Pacheco is a hell of a runner, reminds me of a young Marshawn Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
The awareness that he had where he knew that he didn't fall, that he was on top of some of the other players and got up and was still able to get the first down. Patrick Mahomes on the batted pass that he caught was a very good negative play, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense, because the batted ball would have stopped the clock. Him catching it allowed the clock to continue to run. The one thing I liked at the end of the game was when Lamar left. Lamar looked like he was the only one who kind of showed up and was like, "We lost by 7." Like he was telling all the fans like, "I'll be back. I'll be back here." So it kind of made me feel like he believes that he can this team can beat the Chiefs, but at
Yeah.
the same time, this is probably the easiest the Chiefs will be
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everything else they're going to get experience. Rasheed Rice looked phenomenal. Xavier
Yes.
Worthy, there was talk that they might not even have given, he might not even have played. But the one thing that we talked about when he got drafted was we didn't like his size. But what I loved about it was Andy knows how to find a way to get him open, to get him the ball without him being touched by the defender.
Yes.
And both times, all he had to do was show that speed. He showed it twice. Now when he's on the field, he's now an X factor, even if he's a decoy.
Yes. First thing I noticed is something you spoke to the previous show about Kansas City, and it came to fruition against what I said. Kansas City came out with that sense of urgency. Their defense
Mm-hmm.
definitely tried to set the tone from the first snap. There was a bit of a delay before the game started, but when the ball, when the rubber met the road and it was time to kick off, by the time the first snap, Kansas City was there, and what's his name, Mr. Johnson made sure
Yeah,
that you felt his presence. Statistically, he's a D tackle, so you're not
that's
gonna
about
get. You know, yeah, Chris Jones.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say, Chris Jones. I said Johnson. Mr. Chris Jones, from his spot in the interior, made his presence felt. You know, a lot of times the defensive tackles don't, and they're not going to put up a lot of statistics, but
Right.
his pressures, his consistent disruption of plays, it was felt. And he and what's his name, Nick Bolton, man, they were
Carl
all,
Loftus had a hell of
yeah,
a game.
Loftus. They were flying all over the place.
Yeah.
You really didn't have an opportunity too much to see if they were going to miss that with that trade that they made at the
Yeah.
corner spot.
Legarius.
Yeah, the Snead. They
Mhm.
You didn't get a chance to really get their secondary truly exposed. And
Right.
their front seven got after it. And we have to watch that going down. Was that just a combination of things that factored in because Baltimore was breaking in new linemen, or was that just the attitude and the way they wanted to insert themselves in the game from start to finish? Um, for Baltimore on the offensive side, man, other than Jackson's performance, up down, his run game was very effective, but because he didn't have time to hit the deep shots. But the noticeable thing was too, Derrick Henry didn't get but 13 carries, and then the other bright spot for them was Likely.
Yes.
He had a monster game last night, and as you said with the Chiefs, it's kind of like if that's where they're at now by mid-season, where are they going to be? you know. But then you look at Baltimore's situation. Your line couldn't have played no worse,
Right.
it, and you couldn't have had the kind of production you were expecting out of Derrick Henry. You didn't get. Zay Flowers only had 2 catches for 14 yards, in which one play would have been a touchdown if he had sat on the route instead of
Yeah.
continuing cross. You also had,
That would have been the game tire.
yep, he didn't sit
Mhm.
on that route. He kept going. You had Bateman with 2 catches for 53 yards. I mean, Mark Andrews only had 2 catches for 14. So that was a 7-point game with your offense basically struggling, at so many key points.
I think I'm going to say that their offense struggled, but I'm not going to say the players struggled. To me,
Mhm,
that seemed like play call again. Like
mhm.
you're going to be Likely stepping up is great. However,
Yeah.
it's going to put you in a predicament because Mark Andrews is not really known to be a blocking tight end.
Yes.
Likely is not known to be a blocking tight end. Every year that Derrick Henry was a monster in Tennessee, he had a blocking tight end. You got two
Uh,
pass catchers now. You got two pass
yeah.
catching tight ends now. Does Likely being cheaper, does he make Mark Andrews expendable? Is that somebody that you
Ah.
can trade? Is that somebody that you can trade? He's still a pretty solid tight end. I think he's
Uh-huh.
probably he might be maybe in his 30s or just
Yeah.
about to be 30 or something like that. But
Uh-huh.
those were some of the things that caught my eye. It seemed like the offensive coordinator and the play calling early on didn't trust the linemen,
Hmm.
trying to get the ball out quick, trying to get the
Quick
ball out
game.
quick.
Hmm.
Um, and then it seemed like later on when they started trying to take the shots, Lamar was just so inconsistent with the ball placement and everything because you had Likely open twice.
Yeah.
He said with the one with Zay, he was trying to go to Bateman. He saw or Aguilar, he saw him, and then he
Hmm.
said he tried to get it to him, and then he saw Zay late. So he just
Uh-huh.
tried to beam it in there. He said at first he was going for Aguilar. But
Okay.
yeah, the offense play call the offense looked lackadaisical
Like, uh-huh.
on the Raven side. The
Yeah.
Chiefs, like I said, they seemed like they were going to come out prepared. They're going to come out. They want to make history. They're coming out. We're already back to back. We're going for a three-peat.
Yeah.
Because yes, it might make Pat the GOAT, but what does it do for Kelsey? What does it
Yeah.
do for Chris Jones? Trent
Yes.
McDuffie had a hell of a game yesterday. And
Yes.
McDuffie was someone that I want to see. I want to see how and where they played. Those young corners for Kansas City.
Hmm.
Williams and I can't remember, I think 34 is the other number. They had
Gotcha.
solid games.
Hmm.
They had solid games. So that's one thing that they're capable of doing. They're capable of developing secondary players in
Hmm.
Kansas City.
Yeah.
They had the Honey Badger, they moved on. They had Juan Thornhill, they moved on. They got Jordan Reed, Cook, L'Jarius Sneed. They had Charvarius Ward. He went to San Fran. So, I mean, they're able to develop these late round picks. And I think McDuffie was a first rounder. So he's probably not one of the only first rounders that in that secondary that they took. But I mean, Kansas City's going to be scary. Kansas City's going to be scary because that speed with all the weapons that they have, you got to think, and they dropped 2 touchdowns. And that's another thing. It was a 7-point game. Kansas City didn't play a perfect game. There were 2 touchdowns dropped.
Yeah.
There were 2 touchdowns dropped. Pacheco dropped 1 and Juju dropped 1. So that now we're talking about a 7-point game and a 21-point game.
Man, it's going to be interesting to watch both these teams and how they come together by mid-season. I like one thing I'll add. I think you spoke to Lamar in the run game, and it was interesting to see how they utilized him more. And I can agree with what you said. It looked like he tried to set the tone, and I think I didn't speak on it when you were speaking on it at the time, but it looks like he senses the urgency in his legacy, and he played that way last night. Like he knows, you know, I'm a great player. I'll be remembered, but this is my legacy. This season is my legacy because all the pieces are around me. You know,
they were talking about him. Here. Go ahead, my bad, bro.
Go ahead. No, I was just saying there was enough here. You know, there's enough here for me now. There's no more excuses.
They were comparing him to Peyton Manning with Peyton and Tom.
Yeah.
How it was said that Peyton couldn't beat Tom. And that's kind of gonna be the way for everybody.
Yeah.
All the top quarterbacks or whatever. Lamar was on display yesterday, especially with his running. The thing is, I feel like for him, just have a more complete game. I think getting Derrick Henry, utilizing Derrick Henry could have helped him have that complete game.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, like, what he had, 3.8, 3.7?
Yeah, 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 average. Yes.
But he's not how Pacheco is.
Yeah.
Pacheco hits the hole full speed.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry got to get going. You got to get
train,
going. Like an 18-wheeler, like an 18-wheeler. Once he start going, let him go. And and this was expected. You know, you got a bunch of new pieces, so we're gonna see what we can do.
Yeah,
tough first home game. I mean, tough first opening game, and then in a tough environment. So, but I think both of those teams will be all right. The defense for the Ravens giving up lapses here.
Yeah.
Outside of that, overall, Trent Simpson, I think he played pretty well in replacing Patrick Queen.
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton played well. Kelsey, it wasn't like Kelsey went crazy.
Yeah.
And that's another thing to think about. Everyone is talking about how the Ravens only lost, by a toe. Kelsey didn't go off.
Yeah.
Pat only had
291. He threw for almost 300. Yeah, he threw for almost 300.
But if you think about it, Kelsey didn't get wasn't he?
He was efficient, man. 71.4 in the league. 71.4. His QBR was 110, but the 20 or 28, bro.
I about to say it was only missed like 8 passes. Yeah,
and 2 of those were drops.
Yeah.
So that the 2 drop touchdowns that you mentioned. It's gonna be interesting the next game also with Baltimore before we move on to see, because they did try to establish Derrick Henry early, but it was obvious that the line just hadn't gelled yet. So it's going to be interesting to try to, what do they do? Is there any way that Monken can be creative in being able to get him to the second level? Even utilizing him in the screen game. I mean, you can use with Jackson's threat to run, the screen game could be very, very key in starting to get Derrick Henry utilizing. That's what I say, even with Zay Flowers, you got a lot of guys that you can utilize in that kind of mode. Andrews, likely, Justice Hill. He had 1 run and then he had that catch. He had 6 catches for 52 yards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he was that receiving back.
Yeah. And he there's weapons there, and I think
Yeah.
that if they utilize the quick game until they get their line gelled together enough to where they can start taking more consistent deep shots, I think trying to get Derek involved in that part also could help. Especially if you talk about things like throwback screens, your basic screens, middle screens, things like that. The thing, anything they can do to get him to the second level to speak to what we were talking about,
Yes.
getting that train rolling. Because if you get him going to the second level, even if it's in the passing game, in the short game or the quick game, man, you got to utilize that ability to wear a defense out.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's one thing they weren't able to do. And I think because it was almost in reverse. Lamar was trying to run like Derek, and then they had
Derek, yes.
utilizing Derek like they should have been utilizing Lamar. So
He took a lot of Lamar. One thing that
yeah,
I think that we talked about, or one thing that I know that it's talked about, is that he doesn't usually take hits.
shots. Yeah,
He was saying, I was like, dude, I was like, bro, you are playing like this is the AFC Championship game last year. This is game
yeah,
one. Like
yeah.
you're taking unnecessary hits. Like one of the runs he ran up, and when he cut back, he got caught. I want to say it was Justin Reed.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was Justin Reed, number 20 for the Chiefs, that caught him, but he still didn't catch him how he could have, because it could have been, he could have concussed him.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, you're taking unnecessary hits, lowering your shoulder, trying to run through people. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that sideline where he hit on the sideline, he tried to lower his shoulder, then he
Early
looked back
on.
at the dude. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I feel the attitude. You're trying to set the tone for the team. That's part of leadership. But bro, it's one
Be
game.
smart.
Yeah, be
We
smart.
need you.
Yeah. And then it's not like you haven't missed games in the past with injuries. Let's not do this right now. It's just one game. But
I was just shocked before we go into tonight's game. My last comment on it. Chiefs and Ravens. Chiefs. Just to know that they're still coming. When you look at last year, first game, all the drops that they had. This year, first game, as efficient as you said, he only had 2 drops. It was 20 or 28. Pat Mahomes. They look dangerous.
Yeah,
they look dangerous with that and explosive on offense. And with the Ravens, you have 500, almost 600 pounds in your backfield.
Yes.
How are you not utilizing it? How are we not utilizing it? That was I was shocked by that. So that's my last thing, and then after that we can move on.
One more thing, because now you didn't brought up something that made me think. I didn't see why don't they use a little bit more max protect? You got Ricard, you see what I'm saying? Like you just mentioned, Andrews and Likely with not being blocking tight ends. Use Ricard, put him up on that line of scrimmage. You can move him around, get him on the line of scrimmage, glue a little max protect to give a little time to hit some deep shots here and there, just to open up to get Henry going,
right?
Or either just utilize him in the run game period as a lead block, or put him on the line and we run single back and we run our stretch zones, any of that stuff. You got to get him going, because that's what you brought him there for. It's not acceptable for 13 carries for him. At the minimum,
it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
When you look at what he has done in his career, against the Chiefs, not even the NFL, strictly against the Chiefs. Last night was his worst outing against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I believe he's averaged at least over 100 yards against the Chiefs in every game that he's played against the Chiefs when he was with the Titans.
Yeah. I believe so.
You could double check it. But I'm pretty sure that's what I remember seeing. And the crazy thing about it is, as close as the game was, there was no reason to get away from the run.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Even that little kind of trick play, so to speak, on 4th down, where they had Zay Flowers like kind of duck down and hide.
Yeah.
The safety didn't know where he was going, so the safety was getting ready to go. But McDuffie lined up. McDuffie must have seen him or whatever. But McDuffie played like the Chiefs' defense looked like they were prepared.
Yeah.
The Ravens' defense looked like they had a new defensive coordinator. They had some lapses in communication, some lapses in coverage, which that was expected, which was one of the reasons why I picked the Chiefs. I figured the Chiefs would have at least one or two explosive plays. Lamar, he just had so many errant throws. So I mean, he's still gonna have critics. People are still gonna have questions about him after that game.
Okay. Well, we just mentioned one defense that's going through a transition with a new coordinator, so we'll touch in tonight's game. We've already spoken on a little bit, but it's the Packers Eagles, and we both spoke to the Eagles having to break in two coordinators now, offensive and defensive coordinator, both sides, and they're going up against one team who is bringing in a new coordinator in itself with the Packers, but they do have experience and a experienced play caller and a head coach and an OC. I'm looking now, and right now the Eagles at home are at a 54.2% win
Well, they're the
percentage
home
right now.
team. It's in
Yeah, they're
Brazil.
the home team, so it's going to give it to them. Yeah, they're the home team. They giving them the 54.2% to win the game. I've already made my pick on that game, but as we break it down and look, some more things I mentioned in the previous show about the Eagles is utilizing the defensive line, how they're going to utilize it. I remember earlier shows you mentioned that they're going to a more 3-4 look. So it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize players like Josh Sweat. It shouldn't be a problem for like Davis or what's the other Carter. Yeah, Davis and Carter. They're comfortable. They played in that kind of scheme from college to now. But it's going to be interesting to see how Josh Sweat, who is a true 4-3 type pass rushing defensive end, set the edge type guy. If you're asking him to move the linebacker, or are they utilizing him at the end in that kind of scheme? Does that negate some of his strengths? Yeah.
From what that came out of nowhere. From what I saw, through what the starters didn't play through the preseason, but what I read and stuff is that he'll be utilized more of a mix. Okay. But the thing is, they drafted all these Georgia kids, so I mean, you got to kind of put something that they're comfortable running.
Yeah,
they're comfortable running. Now, Carter is able to play at a 3-4 defensive end. Davis is able to play over, nose.
Yeah.
You're gonna need another big body to play that other defensive end, which that's where Josh Sweat will probably line up sometimes, or probably on the first few downs, and they'll probably transition to more of a outside rush backer on passing downs.
Passing downs, yeah.
You got Nolan Smith, who's going to be more of a traditional speed rusher off the edge from the outside linebacker position. You have to see how these linebackers hold up, especially with Devin White hurt. They took two of probably the top two defensive backs in this draft. They got C.J. Gardner-Johnson. So I mean, I like what they're doing defensively. It's just you're going to have the same thing like we talked about with Baltimore. I'm expecting some lapses in coverage. I'm expecting some hiccups in communication because it's the first game of the season. Your starting linebacker is out. And he's the defensive play caller, so you're gonna have to make sure you're getting your play calls into whoever the backup is. So it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot. I think we both are running with the Packers on this one.
Yeah. I'm looking at the expected depth chart for the Eagles, and I had forgot that Bryce Huff was on that squad. That he signed with them. So it'd be interesting. They have him listed as the weak side linebacker as a starter there. So it looks like it's Jordan Davis, Milton Williams at the strong side DN. Yeah, Jalen Carter at the rush, the right side rush, and then their rush in will be their strong side guy and Josh Sweat.
Yeah.
And then they'll rotate Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith. Most likely, it depends on But I'm looking at with Darius Slay, Blankenship, Quinyon Mitchell is listed as their nickel back in that defense. So it'll be interesting when they go into when they have to go into their nickel and dime packages. How this defense looks, who comes off the field. That's what I was asking. Okay, you're asking Sweat at this part of his career to do something that he hadn't done. And then Bryce Huff also. So because I don't think Bryce Huff, they ran he comes from a 4-3. I think
4-3.
4-3, 4-2-5 kind of scheme, more 4 down linemen basically.
Yeah, I think what they call it, the Leo Rusher or something like that.
Leo Rusher. Yeah. But it's also gonna be interesting because I see like you mentioned, Kylie Ringo. Getting the burn now and replacing stepping in for the who's injured?
Bradbury.
Yeah, Bradbury. seeing if the Packers try to test him early. You know,
If
because
they
there
do,
was
they got depth behind him. They
yeah, they
got
got
depth.
depth.
Eli Ricks. They got Eli Ricks.
You can slide
Quinyon
Quinyon into
Mitchell.
that. Yeah, you can
Quinyon
slide him into
Mitchell.
Cooper
Cooper
DeJean.
DeJean.
Yeah,
Because
so they're
CJ can play slot too.
yeah.
Gardner Johnson can play slot. All three of them can play slot.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
So I'm expecting to see how the Packers move Christian Watson around and even Romeo Dobbs utilizing. I think this is a
yeah,
game where they're going to have to definitely get Jacobs in the passing game also to test those
absolutely.
linebackers in coverage. Zach Bond, I
Yep.
didn't know Zach Bond was on that team. I didn't catch
Oh,
that,
from
but
the Saints.
yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't notice he was on there, but I'm seeing it now. It's like, oh, it caught me off guard a little bit. I was like, oh, okay. But it's going to be interesting to see how they test those linebackers up the middle with a new scheme. I expect Jordan Davis to be effective. You know, it's a comfort zone for him playing right there and over the center, zero technique style. I think Jalen Carter will. It's going to take some time for him to gel. I think the linebackers is where you could see some growth that needs to take place, similar to how Baltimore
absolutely.
in this
Absolutely.
situation. I could see that. Offensively for the Eagles, they got Jahan Dotson is listed as the third guy. It's gonna be
Yeah, the
interesting.
slot.
Yeah, we spoke to it some on the previous show, so it's gonna be interesting to see what they do against Green Bay and their with their personnel and matchups. We know that Green Bay does have a okay solid secondary. Was it Jair Alexander, I believe?
Jair Alexander,
Yeah,
Eric Stokes is
yeah,
healthy.
yeah. It's
Xavier
Rashawn
McKinney,
Gary is healthy too, right?
Rashawn Gary's healthy.
Yeah, yeah. So
Preston
yeah,
Smith,
Preston
Quay
Smith.
Walker,
So
Edrin Cooper,
yes. Um,
Devontae White from
yeah,
Georgia
yeah,
a while back.
yeah.
So they got a
They sure did.
solid defense. They
Yeah,
got a
they got a
solid
solid
defense.
defense, man.
Just you expect similar things
Yeah,
because
I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be
buttholes are going to be tight. Buttholes are going to get tight.
surprised.
No diddy. Buttholes are going to get tight when you line up and you see Saquon, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jahan Dotson.
Uh-huh.
So there's going to be
You're
some
right.
puckering of the buttholes.
Xavier McKinney, Eric Stokes, Jair Alexander, Javon Bullard. Yeah, they got
Oh, I
Rashawn
forgot they
Gary.
got Javon Bullard.
Yeah,
Javon Bullard from
yeah,
Georgia.
yeah. And you're talking
Yeah.
about a healthy practice at Preston Smith, healthy Kenny
Mm,
Clark. Man, this could be a very similar game to what we saw last night.
last night. I'm hoping
Yeah,
so.
very similar game.
I'm hoping so.
Entertaining, but you could see some sloppiness from certain groups that are transitioning into a new formation or getting their first reps in the scheme. So
Uncertainty of what they're doing and
yeah,
what their
uncertain of what
is.
they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't even be
Yeah.
surprised to see Josh Jacobs have a couple of maybe here and there with pass protection, maybe learning in the scheme, but I expect them to get him involved. Also, Marshawn Lloyd, as I see, is questionable. So and Emmanuel
Mhm.
Wilson. So the depth behind
It's gonna
him
be
is
just
going to be
Josh Jacobs.
yes, it's going to be interesting, man. The depth behind him is going to as I'm seeing what has he got behind him, and it doesn't
They're
look
gonna have to
like
go
they don't
some
have much.
5 wide or something just to give him some
Yeah,
gas.
yeah, they're gonna have to. They're gonna have to utilize their tight ends, which Tucker Craft is questionable also for them. So you got Luke Musgrave. Yeah,
That's
man.
the one I was talking about the other day.
Yeah,
Luke,
Luke
I
Musgrave.
can't remember his
And they're
last
the one
name.
that went to Luke Musgrave.
Oklahoma State or Oregon
Oklahoma
State.
State, or yeah, Oregon State, or Oregon
Oregon,
State.
orange and black. I know one of them.
Yeah, it's Oregon State.
Yeah.
Um, and then the new pieces that are on the offensive line for the Packers. How do they hold up? Because they could, how do they hold up? How do they gel? It's once again we're having a situation just like Baltimore,
Right.
which the Packers offensive line wasn't, due to injury, what it had issues, and then the age with Bakhtari,
Yeah.
they've had to go through this transition period. Are they finally gonna put it together? Because if their offensive line can hold up for the season, run the ball consistently where they had ups and downs last year, and if the passing game, which we saw, the passing game for the Packers didn't really start to take off till mid-season last year, and then you
Right.
started to see it fly. Um, if they come together, this is a dangerous team once we get mid-season into the playoff time. They have all the pieces to actually be a sneaky Super Bowl kind of team. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if they're in at least the NFC Championship. But just staying on the first game, when we did our picks, we both picked Green Bay, and I'm still gonna stick with that pick. Just even I guess have confidence in the continuity.
The
I think
continuity. Yep.
their continuity offensively, they have more pieces that have worked together, and with the same
Even,
offense, I think. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Finish. I didn't realize.
No, I
Good.
just say they have more. No, I just say they have more continuity, and I think that will be the ceiling factor or the determining factor in them winning the game.
Yeah, I think with it being there's built-in excuses for both teams. With
Yeah.
it being a Friday night game in Brazil, they was
Hmm.
talking about how dangerous Brazil is. The players couldn't leave the hotels and couldn't do this, couldn't do that, whatever the case may be. Um, I think this is a game either way for Philly. Win, lose, or draw is nothing for them to get too high on or too low on because it's the first game of the season.
Yeah.
They'll see these two teams most likely will see each other again as they continue to gel together, continue to get more continuity together, which is why I was going with the Packers and I'm going to remain going with the Packers because they have the offensive continuity.
Yes.
So, but we're going to try something new now, right?
Hmm.
And we're
Yes.
going into our picks. We're going into our picks, so we're going to pick each game. Y'all see it right there. We got our little characters up. I'm up 1-0 right now because I took the Chiefs. Because I took the Chiefs. So we can touch on each game, give a little quick breakdown on each game and why we picking who we picking. So up next we got what? Atlanta and
Atlanta,
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Hmm.
All right, so we're both going to Atlanta. Why you going to Atlanta?
I'm going to Atlanta because I think Raheem Morris, the defense will be enough. It's basically I don't like the all the pieces that Pittsburgh has right now, and I don't trust the quarterback situation. I don't think it got better. I really don't think it got better. I think that Atlanta's situation is just better overall. They got better offensive pieces right now. Uh, I think Cousins will do enough, and what we saw from Penix, I'm trusting him enough in this game to be, if
Right.
he had to play. I just don't trust and Pittsburgh has pieces. I just don't trust their quarterback situation. I don't like what I saw from Fields. And then Russ, the Russ
They said
situation is what it
he's
is.
still dealing with that
Yeah,
calf.
exactly.
He's still
The
dealing with
Russ
that calf
situation
too.
is
So
what it is. So that's my reasoning for picking, and I think Atlanta wins this by 7 to 10 points.
I'm taking Atlanta. I'm taking them 10. They give them 10
Yeah.
points for me. Similar reasoning. I don't trust Russ at this
Yeah.
stage of his career. I don't like what I saw out of Justin Fields. I don't like what I saw out of their offense throughout the
Hmm.
preseason. And when you look what the Atlanta Falcons did, being able to trade for Matthew Judon, they
Yeah.
already had Jesse Bates, and then they brought in Justin Simmons
Yeah.
to go along with AJ Terrell. So I think they have Grady Jarrett. So they've got playmakers at each level of defense,
Yeah.
especially in that secondary, two ball hawks at safety, a
Yeah.
lockdown corner. I think they're really going to make things difficult for the Steelers. So that's why I'm going
Yeah.
with the Falcons.
Yeah. Okay. I see we moving on. We're gonna look at the Titans and Bears. Once again, we both stayed on the same side. We both picked the
Mm-hmm.
Bears. What's your reasoning for picking the Bears, bro?
Loved what I seen from them from the preseason. I got to watch the final episode of Hard Knocks.
Uh-huh.
Not just offensively. I think Caleb, this team, like I said once we knew Caleb was going, he's going to have his growing pains like any other rookie. That we understand that.
Mm-hmm.
His team is too talented a team going up against a rookie head coach, an indecisive quarterback who doesn't make the best decisions. D Hop, I think I've seen something today that D Hop's got a partial tear in his MCL. So you're looking at only Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd. So with how the Chicago Bears defense played last season, since trading for Montez Sweat, coupled with DeAndre Swift,
Uh-huh.
DeAndre Swift running the ball, they have solid offensive line, and that core of wide receivers with DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Keenan Allen, two nice tight ends. I got to go with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
And I think they're gonna put a whooping on them. I'm saying 24-7.
24/7. I can see that.
Yeah.
I see that Montez Sweat and DeMarcus Walker are questionable, but I believe they're gonna play in the
They're gonna
game.
play.
Yeah. The interesting thing was one of the steals in the draft that the Bears ended up getting in Tyreek Stevenson, and then you add with Jalen Johnson. I think that though that's an underrated cornerback duo in the league right now. Young, up and coming, and with the situation we've already established with what the Titans have with wide receivers.
And they still got the kid from Washington, number 6, Kyler
Gordon.
Gordon, yeah.
Kyler Gordon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they got a nice trio.
They got a nice trio. I just don't see, I see exactly what you see. I think the Bears defense is going to get after this game. They're going to give Caleb enough time to get acclimated, the nerves, work that out. They'll start out running the ball, and then I think they'll end up working it and going ham on Tennessee. And it could get a little ugly. You saying 24. I wouldn't be surprised if they put up 31.
Whew.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised now.
I wouldn't be surprised if they put up 31, 31-7, 31-10 kind of game.
And it's a home game for them.
Yeah, and it's a home game. I just don't, I don't trust the quarterback that puts mayonnaise in his coffee, and then they don't have the skill position for Tennessee is not, it's not enough. Yes, lackluster. Yeah, it's not enough because the player, what's the receiver they took 2 years ago? It's Burks. Yeah, they still
try to trade him. That's what they should have done.
Yeah, this guy should be an established receiver for where he was drafted, and it's not looking good as far as production for him right now. And he's looking like the B word right now, bust.
Yeah,
But we'll move on, and we'll look at, for the sake of time, we'll move on and look at the Panthers Saints. We both went with the Saints. We've talked about this in the offseason. I think the Panthers will be an approved team, but just not ready yet, not there.
Right.
I think as a person I follow in the FSU space, 36 would say the petite quarterback that they got. He calls him a petite quarterback. It's going to be interesting to see. I think he has more than what he had before, but it won't be enough for this season. So I picked the Saints here simply based off of experience.
I believe the Titans are going to have a top draft pick. I believe Carolina is going to have a top draft pick. I agree with you pretty much that everything that the Panthers have now is improved from last year. I just don't think it'll be enough this year. So
yeah.
Off to Washington and Tampa Bay. We are now split. Why you pick? I'll go first. I'm going with Washington, just because I like what I saw out of Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
Him being, I feel like he's a mature rookie quarterback. The losses that the Buccaneers have sustained. Baker Mayfield got paid. Does he still have that chip on his shoulder? Is he going to play like he plays? Is the defense going to play how they're supposed to play? How's everything going to go? I just feel like I have a lot of questions about Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
With the Commanders defensively. Dan Quinn played against Tampa. Dan Quinn knows what Tampa's going to do. Dan Quinn has kind of shut Tampa down when he was coaching with the Dallas Cowboys. I believe that this defense is going to have a different energy about themselves. I believe offensively they're going to have a different energy about themselves. And I'm just going here with the rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, with the new weapons and all that. Austin Eckler being able to be a weapon out of the backfield for him.
Mm-hmm.
Solid tight end with Zach Ertz, even though he's a little older. So I'm going to go with the Commanders.
I like Tampa simply because of Baker Mayfield. I think they got the experience. Once again, we're bringing in and transitioning of a team. With Washington, I think the pieces that D-line that Tampa Bay has and is going to get after it. I
Yeah.
like their linebackers or their secondary. I just think the pieces are there for Tampa Bay. It'd be interesting to see how their offensive line performs in the run game, because that was something that was kind of finding itself. What's the running back they have? White. His last name is White.
Rashad White from
Yeah,
Arizona State.
yeah. He kind of came on late.
Yeah.
He kind of came on late last season. So that's really the reason. I just look at it as, okay, they're breaking in a lot of pieces on Washington's side of the ball, and I'm taking more of the experience in this situation. And I mean, I think Mike Evans has once again a big game, and I just
You have
take
a hell
them
of a
to
season,
about,
period.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
I look at this as more of a 3 to 6 point win for Tampa Bay
Yeah.
though. Yeah, but
All
that's
right.
it.
Next up, Houston and the Colts.
You shocked me with this one, brother.
Well, I ain't gonna lie. I did this strictly because I'm being a homer, and it's a home game for the Colts. So that's really it. There's been a lot of talk about the Texans. We have talked about them, but I think a lot of people sleep on the Colts. I think they have a better roster than what people want to give them credit for. We got Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson played 2 snaps together last season.
Yeah.
They didn't get to practice a lot last year because JT was going through his contract dispute Now they're going to have Now they're going to be there. I love what I've been seeing out of A.D. Mitchell, our rookie out of Texas.
Yeah.
Him, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs should be back. Alec Pierce, we'll see how that rolls. We got a solid offensive line. We've had some issues with defense. Now, I believe we better try to run the ball, keep CJ ass on the sideline.
Yeah.
Because with them monsters he got and us having such young players in our secondary now, I'm believing CJ probably gonna cook them boys up. But I'm just believing first game, home game, I'm hoping we come bow our backs and hold it down.
I got you. No Diddy, but with the bow your backs. But
True. I was gonna say drop your nuts.
Yeah, you know what? They've been even more egregious.
Yeah.
But the Texans, man, I mean, we talked about them from the draft all the way up to the offseason and now, and why and what we saw. And they didn't do anything but get better. I think all the pieces they have, I think it's a no-brainer, and it's a no-brainer for me. I think because they have running backs with Mixon and dang, what's his name? Who's the other running back? Pierce. There we go. Thank you.
From Florida.
Yeah, Pierce and Mixon. That combination alone, then you add in with Stroud and the receiving core that they have, along with Schultz at tight end, and then the young players that they have on defense, and then this being a defensive philosophy, and we still don't know exactly what we got in AR right now, because this basically his rookie season all over again because he got hurt. Yeah, he got hurt. So I really think that's where the Texans can take advantage early, and that's why I got them winning this game, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 13-point win at the minimum.
I'm hoping not. So off to the Dolphins and the Jags. We both went to the Dolphins. I'm just not a believer in the Jags. I don't think Trevor is the quarterback that everyone has thought that he was to be. I believe in the players around him, but he's always had players around him all of his football career. I just believe with Tua, as accurate as he is with the weapons that he has, they added more weapons. And it's in Miami. It's in Miami. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hot. That Miami, the way the stadium is set up, the opposing team is way hotter than the home team. So I'm just expecting it. I'm expecting Miami to win between 7 and 10 points.
Yeah, I say the same thing, and mine is I'll speak to Miami speed. I like, we mentioned some of the losses that they had on defense and the ifs about the injuries returning back with Phillips and was it Chubb. But they added a couple of pieces in free agency that worked out. You see Jalen just signed another new contract. Deal. Yeah, another
He's
new
a top paid DB now that after Patrick Surtain signed.
Yep. But that's where I see just too much speed. I think Jackson. It's really this game for me boils down to what you started with your analysis, and that was Trevor. He isn't
Yeah.
what he isn't what we were hoping or thinking. He was going to be. We were looking at him for being your CJ Stroud, the way he's looking, your franchise setting kind of guy. At this point, they should have been in the playoffs, and their window, which we spoke to a lot, it looks like it's closed or closing, and they're trying to keep it open.
And he's had the most turnovers since he's been in the league at a quarterback.
Yep. So I got them Miami winning by about 7 points.
We already went over the Packers and the Eagles.
So I will change the slide and we move on. And we both took this game. And you know what? I would have given Minnesota a chance. And oddly enough, if McCarthy's situation didn't happen in the preseason, I would, simply because I just didn't trust Daniel Jones, but because I don't trust Sam Darnold. Is it Sam? Yeah, Sam Darnold. I trust him even less than I trust Daniel Jones. At least I know Daniel, if they can get him out on the perimeter, man, they can get him running. You might have something there. But yeah, I do not trust this situation with the quarterback situation in Minnesota. And then I just think the Giants defense is going to feast in this game because of that. You could see a frustrated Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison in this situation.
Right. Addison's hurt.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Addison did get
Addison's hurt.
Yes.
Yeah. I went New York for the same reason. I think their defense is going to win this game. Both of these teams, in my opinion, should be paying attention to what's going on in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Checking out that quarterback situation. Once JJ McCarthy got hurt, I could have seen them trading for Russ, especially if the Steelers would have given Justin the start. I could see Justin playing in New York, especially with Daniel Jones being as trash as he is.
Yeah.
Brian Daboll is good with a big physical running style quarterback. Maybe he could get something out of Justin Fields. We'll see. But that's more of a future thing. Right now, I just think their defense is going to win this game. This is going to be outside of maybe one or two highlight grabs. It'll probably be a snooze fest.
Yeah, I believe so too. We'll move on to the Patriots Bengals. We both settled in with the Bengals. My reason for picking is just, it's a gimme. You got Higgins, Burrow, Chase. You got weapons on that side of the ball. The Patriots are basically tear down and rebuild. This is basically another rebuild year for them. I mean, you got a situation right now where is it Brissett's playing, but even in the preseason, we were up here questioning Drake May versus Joe Milton. So
right.
We don't know what the hell we got going on in New England right now. But this is going to look like a very retro type of New England. And I ain't talking about the Brady years. I'm talking about the 80s and prior to that, the early 90s. Yeah, pre-Brady, even pre-Bledsoe.
Pre-Bledsoe.
I mean, we could see some consistent losing seasons for a little while with them. But just getting back to the football analysis, I think that the Bengals just have too much on both sides of the ball. I think they're breaking in too much on the you're expecting too much from some key players with backups, career backups and rookies. Yeah, rookies and career backups to be your playmakers or to lead your team. And I just don't see it happening. Magically, now it would be odd to see them have like a Seattle type of season where Brissett becomes Geno Smith and salvageable and works them down. But I just don't see the long term here. With them winning this game.
I don't see it either. I don't see it either. He struggled during this preseason. Brissett, that is. I understand not starting Drake May. That was one of the things I said from the moment they drafted him when we did our draft coverage. If you draft him for the future and not for him to play now, then I'm okay with it. So I'm okay with him sitting. They should be trying to build as many draft picks as possible. They should be attempting to, because they're going to have, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to have the top amount of cap space.
Yeah.
money to burn next year. They should
Mhm.
have a top. They should have a top 3 pick as well. So this team could really go from worst to first within the
Uh-huh.
next couple of seasons, especially everything else that's going on. That's been one of my comments about the Patriots for a while. But with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Zach Moss running the rock, Burrow healthy, the offensive line is retooled.
Mhm.
The defense should be decent. I'm expecting a big win from the Bengals as well. Especially they have to make a statement since they play the Chiefs next week.
Okay. Well, we move on, bro. And we got the Raiders Chargers. Now this is interesting. Uh I just don't think the Chargers have enough. I think they lost too much through free agency and moving on. You lose what Eckler, you lose both your wide receivers. Um, I don't think I don't think Herbert has enough. You know, he looks like he's a guy that's a regular season guy, but when we get into the situation in certain plays, it looks like it's just a stat stuffer. It's more
Right.
you're not gonna get any more. And if you don't have weapons, I'm sorry, I'm not dependent on what's the guy they just got from Georgia, the little wide receiver,
Blanc,
yeah,
McConkey,
McConkey.
Lad.
Yeah, I'm not. He's not. I just can't see him being my one. You know what I mean? One
Yeah.
or two. I just don't trust that situation. I think the Raiders has enough. I think they'll take on the attitude. You know, I spoke to that in the offseason talking about the attitude of their coach and their coaching staff. And I think they'll play hard. I see Brock Bowers is questionable, but I'm interested to see what they do with Zamir White. I mean, you let Jacobs, you know, Jacobs is gone, but
Yep.
Zamir is that kind of running back. Also, he can give you, he's not a game breaker, but he's the kind of guy that can carry the ball 20 times. In today's football, he can be physical. Um, they still have Devontae Adams. It's going to be interesting to see what Gardner. You know, it all goes and fall on Gardner Minshew though.
Yep.
Um, is Gardner going to be consistent in when he works his magic? Because he's sort of like that quarterback, sort of like Fitzpatrick. You
Yeah.
know, he'll give you a spark, and then by mid-season he'll fart out. You know what I mean? It just
Yep.
it just people get enough film. Okay, we see what he's doing in this scheme. We know what to do, and he just farts in the wind. But I like what they got on defense, adding Christian Wilkins, John Jenkins. You got Max Crosby still there. They got a young pieces in the secondary and the linebacker position. I just like the Raiders here in this game. I don't think they're gonna be at nothing more than maybe, mid-tier team still
Hmm.
building. But as far as this game goes, I can see this being a field goal game. The Raiders win
I,
by 3.
I believe it's going to be a close game. I got the Chargers due to Harbaugh's ability to Harbaugh's philosophy of wanting to
Uh-huh.
run the ball. He's got Greg Roman, who we know from Baltimore and from
Uh-huh.
his time at the 49ers. They're going to be able to run the ball.
Mhm.
Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins both played in the system, so they have continuity with the system. They
Mhm.
should probably have the better of the two teams' offensive line. I do agree with you. I believe that the Raiders will play with an attitude. I believe that the Raiders will play um, for Antonio Pierce.
Yeah.
I also just think that the quarterback situation is going to hinder them. So that's why I'm going with the Chargers. And I think it'll still
Okay.
be a close field goal to a touchdown game. Now the next game, which you being a Cowboys fan, got me off. Had me making sure I was reading it right. So we both
Yeah.
went Cleveland. I'm gonna tell you why I went Cleveland, and then
Okay.
this is your team. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm gonna award you the most time to talk about it. But for me, the Cowboys they do not have a roster that we're accustomed to them having.
Yep.
Deron Bland is out.
Yep.
You got your other starting quarterback, Trayvon Diggs, who is returning from injury.
Mhm.
You do not have the linebacking core for the defensive scheme you're trying to run. Yes, this has been a 12-win team the last 3 years. Yes, the
Mhm.
defense has been this. Yes, the offense has been this, but the defense was elite, if you will,
Mhm.
in a certain scheme. This is a completely new scheme. Michael
Yep.
Parsons was in one scheme his entire career. This is his second scheme. So for those reasons alone, and I don't feel like they have enough firepower, Cleveland with it doesn't matter to me. It don't matter who the quarterback is in Cleveland. With how physical that defense is,
Mm-hmm.
the Cowboys are going to be starting 2 rookie offensive linemen. I'm expecting Myles Garrett to eat. I'm expecting Zadarius Smith to eat. I'm expecting the secondary to lock down these wide receivers. I'm expecting
Yeah,
some turnovers. I'm expecting the Browns to bring it and bring it early and often. I'm taking this as a 10 to 13 point victory.
I wouldn't be surprised. And actually, I appreciate you allotting me that time, but I'm gonna keep it short. And I'm gonna use one. I'm gonna use one word, bro. Trenches. This is
Yep.
where the Cowboys are young and experienced in the trenches, and on defense, they didn't do anything to better their interior in the trenches. I don't trust Moses Smith as a run. I don't know what happened, but you're able to run right up the middle, being physical up front. Adigi Azua, he's a good defensive end, D tackle, but I mean for what he's undersized himself
Yeah.
playing in the league, considerable considering what's being asked or what's typically the weight and the size of a defensive tackle in the league, even at what is it, three technique.
Yeah. At the three.
Yeah, as a three, he's still undersized in my opinion. Demarcus Lawrence got his check a few years ago, and he's decided that he's just gonna coast. Parsons he's frustrating, and gets frustrated, so he frustrates you as a fan because you see the talent, but he never gets maximized. I don't trust the coaching scheme or the system, just like you mentioned. The linebackers, you bring in Eric Kendricks. I don't trust what they got. You're starting a rookie in LaFau. I think he's from Notre Dame.
Mhm.
Damone Clark on the other side. I don't trust that situation. Like you said, I mean, they got Trayvon Diggs playing at corner, and then Kalen Carson. Donovan Wilson is safety, and Malik Hooker, and Jordan Lewis is back from injury. So and it's just too many injuries in the secondary they're returning from, and it's not light injuries. These are injuries with tendon injury.
Right.
That these guys are coming back from. I do not trust what I've seen over the offseason. I see they brought in Dalvin Cook for offense, but even their roster, they're listing Ezekiel Elliott as a starter. What are we doing here? You're not serious. You got CD, Brandon Cooks, and now Jalen Tolbert. Of course, Jake Ferguson, but once again, you can't trust the personnel. For
Yeah.
once one of the franchises, one more talented rosters, they're now, I think they've fallen out of the top 10 as a talented roster overall. They have pieces that are still top 10 individually, but as a roster as a whole, the roster's not as talented as it was just a year or 2 years ago. So I
I
got the Browns winning this game by about 10 to 13, or maybe I'll say about 10 easy.
I gotta I'm gonna drop my predictions for each division
Hmm.
probably tomorrow.
Okay.
But I don't think the Cowboys will be a playoff team this year.
Nah.
And I know a lot of people will probably pissy about that, but I don't. But
You,
moving on, you
I'm
got anything
happy
else? Go ahead.
about it. Yeah, I was gonna say
Uh,
I'm happy about it because if we any opportunity to get a top 10 pick, I'll take it. But I think that's the problem. We spoke to it in the offseason. They're gonna be good enough not to get a top 10 pick, but bad enough,
not to
bad
win the
enough
Super
not not to win the Super Bowl. So but we're
So
moving on though.
all right, next up, Broncos and the Seahawks. We're split on this one. You want to take it first?
Yeah, I picked Denver, man. Simply because of transition. You got one thing, you got a transition with Seattle, so much transition with their coach, head coaching situation, new coordinators, whole bunch of new coaches.
Yeah.
You're looking at Gino, when you get new coaches and the new stuff like that, what usually happens? They want their own
They want
guy.
that guy. Yep.
Yeah, they want their guy. So Gino was serviceable last year. He's been steady, and we spoke to that. But I think that it's just too much unknown. And I like some of the things surprisingly that I saw out of Bo Nix.
Bo Nix.
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I had to drop it was fucking surprising, bro.
It was.
It was surprising, and I was like, well, maybe I'm willing to admit if I'm wrong. It doesn't mean what we saw in the preseason means it's gonna be no,
His
knockout, drag
norm.
out, yeah, the norm. But for what we saw, I was like, okay, there's something here, and he can transition. And I heard somebody mention when I was on social media, his game probably translates more to the pro game because he can do things where he does have a skill set that doesn't always go accounted for. And that's when the play breaks down, what can you do? And
Right.
that is something. He doesn't have the
He can
strongest arm.
improvise.
He can improvise. And we saw quarterbacks become legends who were improvisers, didn't have the strongest arm, but in the right fit, right system. Uh, I wouldn't say that Drew Brees had the strongest arm,
That's what I've seen a lot of people compare him to.
yeah, I wouldn't say that I saw that. And you know, ironically, that same coach is in Denver. You know, and he may be trying to mold himself a young Drew Brees type
Yeah.
quarterback. I'm not making any comparisons, but some of his skill set is similar to Drew Brees. You know, so that I took them, and I still say this is a 3 to 6 point game for Broncos. I like some of the pieces that they do have now, where it didn't look good, but I think addition by subtraction may work for them better than we think. What about you, man?
So I went Seahawks. I'm
Mhm.
trying to see now because I'm not mistaken. I believe this is the Seahawks home game. Yeah, it's the Seahawks home game. So that 12th man's gonna be loud for the rookie,
Yeah.
Bo Nix. What I saw from the preseason of Bo Nix, I was extremely surprised and shocked myself as well.
Hmm.
But what I think is with Tariq Woolen,
Yeah.
Witherspoon, who are
Hmm.
long, rangy corners,
Hmm.
they're going to take away that first read. I'm expecting a couple of pick sixes. I'm expecting Bo Nix to struggle.
Hmm.
I'm looking at this as I'll say a 7 point victory
Okay.
for the Seahawks. I like, and this not just the. I agree with you with the coaching staff changes and whatnot in
Yeah.
Seattle.
Hmm.
We no longer have Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
However, I feel player for player, their 53-man roster is more talented than the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
So moving on to the Detroit Lions and the LA Rams, we both went the Lions. It's a Detroit home game. I picked the Lions just because I think this team is poised. I think this team is
Hmm.
ready.
Hmm.
This is a home game. I want to see them come out firing on all cylinders. I'm expecting this to be a really, really, really close game. I'm thinking
Hmm.
about a field goal victory, but these are two playoff teams. I definitely believe.
Yeah. I can agree. We can keep it short, man. Everything you said, I don't have to piggyback as far as saying the same thing. But I like the personnel that the Lions have. I think this will be a close game. But I just think this is what I mentioned with the Raiders. The Lions have an attitude and identity, and they're all in.
Yes.
They're going to play physical. You know that. You're going to have to bring your lunch pail. They
Yep.
shored up some problems that they had last year. Their one weakness, that's where we got to watch. The one weakness they had on that team was their secondary. I think they shored it up.
They tooled
And
that bad boy
yeah,
up.
they tooled it up. And I think with that being tooled up, they're locked in and they're ready. And I think, in my personal opinion, just looking forward before we move on, I think they supplant the Niners as that type team.
DJ Reader.
Yeah,
DJ Reader, the
yeah,
guy I want to keep my eye out on that D
yeah,
line.
yeah. They supplant them as that physical
Yep.
attitude. You got the lineup. They're gonna whoop your ass in the trenches type team,
Yep.
and then they can still beat you over the top with their receiver and their skill set. That
Yep.
I give them a win, and I look at it about a 3 to 6 point win here too. It's just too many new pieces on LA's defense for me.
I keep it short and sweet with the Bills and the Cardinals. I picked the Bills. I don't trust the Cardinals. I don't think they have a solid roster.
Yeah,
Didn't do a lot of free agency. I wasn't a big fan of their draft. I just don't think they have enough. I don't think that the Cardinals will have enough to deal with Josh Allen, Keon Coleman, and the Buffalo Bills.
yeah. I think the Bills will have a struggling season. I just don't think that'll be a problem in this game. I think their
Right.
roster is still good enough to win. You know, we've already spoken about them enough. I think this is a 6 point, 7 point type game that they win. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 10. I think Allen has one of his Allen type games. It's just going to
Mm-hmm.
be interesting to see what he does with, with replacing. It's going to be some adjustments early in this game with the new receiving core. basically losing a lot of key guys off of his offense. But I
Right.
still got the Bills winning this game. And not I think the game would pretty much be over by maybe the third. They'll start being able to coast a little bit in the third, fourth.
And in the Monday night game, we got San Fran versus the Jets. We split on this. Go ahead. You can tell me why you picking San Fran.
I just don't. I don't necessarily trust the coaching staff with the Jets. I think that the pieces that the Niners have, they're still an established team. They're still one of the best teams in the league. I think that the Jets can match their physicality, but I just don't know what if Rodgers is back. So
Right.
if that quarterback situation with Rodgers, I trust the historical Rodgers, but I don't know with this Rodgers who's old, coming off a serious injury, and I just don't see it. I think the Niners win this game, and they just out physical the Jets in the late, and I can see it being a 3-point game,
Yeah.
simply because they just wear them down late.
I got the Jets. The reason I took the Jets is, well, one, I took the Jets when the schedule first came out.
Uh-huh.
So it doesn't have anything necessarily to do with. I feel like Aaron Rodgers has always had a chip on his shoulder. What the hell? Screen went out. What the hell that?
You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers has always had his chip on his shoulder about the San Francisco 49ers ever since they drafted Alex Smith over him.
Uh-huh.
With the Brandon Ayuk situation, Ricky Pearsall got shot. Trent Williams hadn't practiced, even though they all signed and they are back. Throughout the time that they were gone, there's been a lot of reports of Brock Purdy throwing a bunch of interceptions, and I am just expecting this Jets defensive continuity to overmatch some of the hiccups, I'll say, that the San Francisco 49ers faced with Trent Williams not being there. How conditioned is he? Same thing with Brandon Ayuk. How conditioned is he? C-Max hurt, nursing the ankle, I believe, as well. I agree with you about Aaron Rodgers. I don't necessarily believe in the Jets coaching staff as far as offensively. You got to believe in Robert Saleh. The guys had the worst quarterback play and still managed to put together 7 wins last year, beating some top quarterbacks. I believe they beat the Texans with C.J. Stroud. I believe they beat the Buffalo Bills as well, and they didn't have competent quarterback play. If Aaron Rodgers isn't him, but if he's competent, you have a nice 3-headed monster at running back. You have a solid tight end. You retooled your offensive line. If Mike Williams is healthy, Garrett Wilson is a nice player. Garrett Wilson is a dog out there at the wide receiver position. So I'm expecting this to be a field goal game as well. Aaron Rodgers leads them down late for go ahead field goal. He's leaving Santa Clara with his first victory as a Jet.
Okay. Well, it's very interesting, man. I really like this setup that you did too, man. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate y'all watching. Tap in with us. We didn't get a chance to do our college game, but we'll try to squeeze it in. Also check out D's Corner. That's DSCORNER. He about to tap in and lock in with you and get more in depth with your NFL news. Double D's Gaming is where you can find us doing our gaming streams. Also college, our Double D's College. Let's talk college. We're gonna go more college talk. But we really appreciate y'all. You got anything you want to add, bro, before we close out?
Nope, that's it. Always, like, share, subscribe here and at D's Corner. Check us out on Twitch, Double D's Gaming, D's Gaming Corner as well. Like, share, and subscribe there as well.
All right. Well, we appreciate y'all. Y'all have a wonderful one.
We out.
We out.